Pop, 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 pass the popcorn. 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 Pass the popcorn.
Welcome to Alternate Ending, where we're discovering good movies, one bad movie at a time. I'm your host, Carrie Jarsinski, and this is Pass the Popcorn, where we're joined by the coolest film lovers we know to talk about movies that are so bad or so good that we can't wait to talk about them either way. Today, I'm joined by somebody who is in my top 10 favorite living people, which is really good because I like a lot of people.
I was going to say my top 10, I'm already like looking at people that I really don't care for. So I'm very pleased to know that I'm in your top 10 because I know it's a much more competitive race.
You only have 7. You're at 7, but total.
Right.
But alas, it is Mr. Tim Brayton. I'm so glad that you are here. I'm glad that we're talking. The last, I would say, month of our lives have been crazy and chaotic. And so we haven't gotten
it's been a good long bit since we've done one of these.
I know, because Thanksgiving was in there. And I always imagine or think that we're going to like record remotely and that we'll have time to do it and catch up and that we won't miss a beat. But holidays are just always bonkers and crazy, and it just doesn't happen. So nevertheless, it's good to be back here with you.
It is indeed. And I will point out we are recording remotely, but certainly we're not recording remotely the day after Thanksgiving dinner. So that makes life a lot easier.
This is true. And probably Thanksgiving dinners that for both of us probably weren't like super low key, I would say. Both of us usually sort of have to mentally prepare for our Thanksgivings.
I would say that is correct.
Yes. As I was taking my fourth bite of Thanksgiving sauerkraut,
What in fuck's name?
I don't know.
And I say that as someone who likes sauerkraut.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't help you. I don't know. It's a little bit of sauerkraut with a lot of ham in it, but thankfully I know that I don't eat ham, but there were big enough chunks that everybody at the table still put it on my plate, hoping that I would just sort of pick it out because they made it so that I could grab for it, as I like to do. So yeah, I got home from Thanksgiving and it was definitely a little lower key when we got back, and I was hoping for like a smooth stretch. I feel like I've had kind of a wild stretch over the course of the last maybe month or so, and then today, this exact day. So it's good that we're recording because this will document it for the rest of my life. That today is the beginning of the end of my life, and I share that with you.
That's true for all of us every single day, Carrie.
I mean, this is particularly bad. What in your mind could be my worst case scenario? What's happening to me today?
Did your brain death come back?
A little bit, but not enough that it's the reason for the worst day of my life.
Okay.
It's worse.
Well, because you didn't say it was the worst day. You said it was the first day of the end of your life.
Oh, that's true.
Which, depending on how bad the rest of the things are going, could be a very good sign indeed.
This is true.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
You're trying to be optimistic. This isn't a good thing, and it is the first day of somebody's brain death as well. That is culminating with Abby getting a phone.
Oh, no.
Well, she hasn't gotten it yet.
Okay.
But she qualifies for it. She qualified for it. And I'm very upset, and I don't know.
The only thing that the qualification is that you and Rob need to agree that it's time. So just
it's not time.
Disqualify her.
Okay, let me tell you what you would do if you were in my parental situation.
I would throw her in a closet, lock it, and wedge a chair up against it, and let her think about what she's done.
Yeah, you know what? I tried that for a while, and then CPS came, and it wasn't good either. But here's what I did. We made a deal. She was really, really upset at the beginning of the school year because, in quotes, every single person had a phone at school except her.
Okay.
And so she even pulled out the tears. She was like, and she knows exactly what to say to get me. She's like, I just feel left out. And like, I'm just not kind of included in things, and so it just makes me feel really sad and hurt when that happens.
Well, you should have told her that hurt is an omnipresent facet of human life.
Yeah.
And the sooner she learns that to be alive is to suffer, the happier she'll be, because she will never expect good things.
Yeah. I should have brought you along for the chat because instead, here's what I did. I hope she never listens to this, but Abby's super lazy. She's real lazy, like really lazy. Like, hey, can you get me my water? It's like 3 inches from your hand. Like, no, go get your own water. Like,
Okay.
granola wrappers everywhere. And it's like,
Well,
take it
I
to the
feel if you
garbage.
have concerns about your sedentary child, giving her a smartphone will absolutely help this situation.
This isn't helping. I feel like hot even thinking about it. So in that moment, when she was so upset, I said, okay, hey, I also think they're super spoiled. So, okay, now to where I came up with my plan. I said, how about you can have a phone as soon as you pay for it? So that was the plan. I was like, okay, you have to save up $1,000 to get this phone. And then on top of it, I built out a chore chart and everything was $1. So I was like, she is going to have to do 800 chores, or
So she's like built an addition to your house at this point, is what I'm beginning to hear.
basically. So much so it's like laundry. Actually, it's 5 for $1 on dog poopies in the backyard if she fixed those up.
Oh, you are getting rooked, Carrie. You are getting rooked.
Wait, do you think 5 for $1?
$5 to clean up the dog poo?
No, 5 for $1. So like,
5 dog poos for $1. Okay.
Yes. And she
Okay, I
scammed
misunderstood.
me. She scammed me the first time, and I won't be scammed. And so she scammed me, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm at like $25." I'm like, "What are you even saying? Like, there's not that much poop in the yard." And she at the time was like, "Well, I'm just gonna take each individual nugget and count that as one poop." So she'd take like, and
No, I think you should indicate that each bowel movement is one poop.
Yes, she did. It was unclear. So she came in and she's like, well, I earned the phone. And I'm like, you didn't. Like, you've got like $4 in there. Like, so we talked about that early on. But it had things like doing laundry. It had things like taking the dog for long walks, things that would require some effort to do it. And here we are. And she's cruising in today. And she's like, Mom, I'm at $7 or $785. And so she's like, I am going to earn $15 today. And
have you audited this? This doesn't seem real.
well, so, okay, let me back up. She had some money to start. She had like $300 and some dollars to start, $300 or $400. And this started over the summer. So this is her working really for like 4 or 5 months at chores every single day. And it's been brutal because at the end of the day, I wanted it to never come. I just was hoping she wouldn't.
Of course.
So then she started asking for more chores and I was avoiding her. I was like, I don't have anything for you today. And so it became this whole point of contention. So today, I'm not proud of it, but I had like a little bit of a mom. I lost my faculties. I don't know if that's the right word at all right there. That might mean that I wet my pants. I'm not sure. But I didn't wet my pants. I just sort of had a lapse in judgment. And so she's like, okay, what can I do for the last like $10? And I said, okay, well, for the last $10, you can clean the entire house and you have to like vacuum the whole house. All the laundry has to be done. You have to organize the whole house. And I was like, I'll work on it with you, but anything I tell you to do, you just have to do for the next 4 hours. You just have to do to do that. And she just followed through everything. I was like, those boxes. And I just started to turn into like a scary taskmaster because I was so resentful that she was actually doing it. So she's like, I was like, carry those boxes to the garbage. Make sure you break them down. Break down those garbage or break down the garbage before you put it in there. And she was just like, man, she was like huffing and puffing while she was running around the house. And then at one point, I was like, okay, you got to vacuum the whole unfinished part of the garage. And she runs into a dead gecko in our
A dead gecko?
I don't know. There was like a dead lizard or gecko or salamander or something like that in our basement.
Your basement?
In the unfinished part, like the cement part. There were two
Where
of
did
them.
it come from?
I've never seen a live one in my life in Wisconsin, and we have them in our basement all the time.
That's what I'm saying. We don't really have reptiles up here.
I have no idea. At this point, they were petrified. They had been there a while. And so she's like, I don't think I'm going to be able to pick up the dead salamander. She's like, could you do it? And I was like, if you want a phone, you got to pick up the dead salamander. So she's got like the shop vac, and the salamander like won't go into the shop vac.
You should have seen if she wanted it enough to pick it up with her hands.
I don't know. At this point, she's gone mad with wanting this phone, and I've gone mad with trying to prevent her from getting the phone. So now she's running around the basement with a dead salamander, like plastered to the end of the shop vac, and she can't get it off because the shop vac's running. And now I'm screaming because I also don't want to get touched with a dead, petrified salamander. So she's chasing around. It's very upsetting. And then finally she turns off the vacuum and she looks at me and she goes, you do know that I am just a child, don't you? It was this moment where I was like,
well, that's what you get to throw back at her. If she's just a child, she doesn't need her own damn phone.
I regret to tell you that that's exactly what I said.
I do not regret that you said that. I'm so happy that you said that.
I just...
You made me feel so good that you just said that.
Oh, it was like, without a hesitation, I was like, yep, kids don't need phones. So I guess we're done here. You can go use your 800 bones somewhere else. Go get some Polly Pockets or wet yourself dolls like you should have, like a regular 12-year-old. Just a devastating day. So it is the end of the road. And again, I'm just going to say goodbye to her because she's just going to be doing whatever kids do on phones.
I don't want to say something you already know to be true because that's no good to anybody.
It's okay.
You know, I interact with 19-year-olds and 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds. It's my job. I am very confident, like 90 to 95% confident that they've gotten dumber and they've gotten dumber because they have too much time with devices.
I 1,000% agree. I think anybody under 20 is a dum-dum for sure.
I think I have gotten dumber by having a device in my ownership. I think just humans do. And I think that the young humans, the teenagers in particular, they're just doomed.
They are doomed. This is exactly how I
feel. I'm saying you might as well have just bought her a crack rock and a crack pipe and shoved them right into her face and be like, here, smoke some crack.
Yeah, it was buy one, get one crack pipe free with a Verizon phone. That's the new Christmas special. So it's just a package deal that I'm actually just going to give her. I'm going to wrap one up. So... yeah, so I'll keep you posted on that. I will caveat to say I agree with you, and that what I've already written out a contract that she will have to sign that she has to adhere to, which is like she is not allowed any social media apps. I'm going to be one of those weirdo moms that like can control which apps she gets or doesn't get. So there's like no TikTok. There's no. TikTok is the fucking devil. Yeah, it'll eat her brain alive with makeup tutorial videos. It's just awful. So I'm going to block all that. No social media apps. There's going to be a time limit on it of like 2 hours per day. And then there's like, she can't have it in her bedroom at night. It has to stay downstairs. These rules will also apply to Rob. I'm going to give him this contract as well because he's on his phone like 19 hours a day. But
I was going to make a joke because at first I thought you meant that they were going to apply and that he had to enforce them. And then I realized, oh no, you actually mean Rob will have to obey these rules. And I think that's cool.
It is cool because I'm going to control his phone with this special app I'm going to pay for.
I love this. I'm so excited to hear about the next 6 months in the lives of the Jarosinski family.
That's right. We'll see if we're all together. Abby will have moved out because she really, my next rule will be like, if you want to have control of your phone, you'll have to live on your own. So she'll probably get save enough to get an apartment by 15 and be out of here. So nevertheless, the only thing I think that has held me together through both Thanksgiving shenanigans as well as now has been my movie watching. I've seen a lot of movies.
Oh, good. I have actually started watching movies again after taking about 4 months off.
I know, that's very exciting. I've noticed it on both the website as well as your Letterboxd, which I creeped on today.
Yes, I finally wrote a review over the weekend. By the time this episode goes live, I might have written a second, but I did write a Patreon review of the incredibly excellent Picnic at Hanging Rock. So thank you to Johnny Mugwump for
Isn't it a picture
for,
at Hanging
for being
Rock?
patient enough to wait for the, I believe at this point, 6 months overdue that review is. But
We'll be reaching out
gonna,
to Johnny.
gonna strive. Goal was to be done by January 1st. I think that goal is ambitious, but I'm certainly hoping to be caught up with all Patreon reviews by the end of January.
Woohoo! Putting it out there on the airwaves too. That's impressive. That's impressive. Is it not Picture at Hanging Rock?
It is Picnic.
Picnic. Is there also a Picture at Hanging Rock?
I mean, there could be. I've never been to Hanging Rock.
Oh, all right. I just didn't know, and it's a good one, so others should check it out.
I think you'd hate it.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it would be one of the worst movies you've ever seen. But I like it. Other people like it.
I bet you loved it. So, of the movies that you've seen since last we spoke, was that your favorite? And if not, which ones are you bringing today?
Well, I mean, since last we spoke, it's been so long ago. Who can even say? But that is not the movie I'm bringing because, as I said, you can read my review of it on the website. Especially if you're a Patreon. If you're not a Patreon, you can't. Actually, not yet. But what I am bringing to the table, I've seen a couple movies that I actually really, really loved in theaters, which is always exciting when I can be excited about a movie that's younger than I am. And we're sort of in a very cool, maybe unprecedented moment at the US box office right now, which is that two of the top three films at the box office, sort of both very, maybe not very surprising hits, but I don't think anyone was expecting them to do quite as well as they're doing, are both from Japan. So I'm going to be bringing a brace of Japanese movies that you can go out and see in the theater right this very moment. I will be talking at least a little bit about each of Godzilla -1, the newest film starring the beloved, iconic, giant monster Godzilla, and The Boy and the Heron, which is the newest and presumably last film from Hayao Miyazaki, the animation director that every living human being other than you, Carrie, loves.
That's right. That's right. And why will it be his last?
Because he's like 85 years old.
You don't know. It
You
could
don't.
be.
I mean, I will say this. Unlike every other time he's made a movie in the last 20 years, he did not announce immediately after releasing this one that he was retired. So it is at least possible he does not intend to retire.
Okay. And what was his latest one?
Before this?
Yeah, before this one.
The Wind Rises from 2013.
Nah, I haven't seen that one either. I just remember feeling like it was a real bummer. But I can't remember what it
You've
was.
seen, let's see, what have you seen? You've seen My Neighbor Totoro,
Yeah.
I know. You've seen Spirited Away, I
Oh,
think.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Did you see Princess Mononoke? I think you saw Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, I saw that one too. Yeah, I saw all three of those are real movies that exist.
They sure are
that
all
are
real
fine.
movies that exist.
They are all fine. So which one are you going to start with?
Which one do you want to hear about first?
Oh boy, gosh, I'm on the edge of my seat for both of them. The second one that you mentioned.
Okay. Well, that is the one I'll start with. But before I start, I want to hear what you're bringing to the table.
Oh
Miss Carrie
boy,
Garrison.
I struggled here a little bit because I also made it to the theater when we were in Florida for Thanksgiving. Our defense mechanism is to watch movies. And how do we survive it? We go to the theater. So we caught The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Which I have still not made it out to.
I think you won't like it.
I don't know if I'll like it. I doubt I'll love it, but it's long.
It is long.
It's a long movie.
It's really long, and it's part 1 of 2. There's going to be another one, I think, that comes out after. It ended on a cliffhanger.
Oh, wait, what? Is there really?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, God, that's news to me.
Yeah, that actually could be a lie. That 100% could be a lie, but I felt like it ended with like...
Are you sure you watched
cliffhanger.
The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and not The Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 1?
So I did watch
Which
that
was
one,
avowedly
too.
a
And there was
cliffhanger.
a cliffhanger. Oh, so that's the other thing. I watched all of The Hunger Games again while we were in Florida. So I watched all 4 to ramp
That's a
up.
lot of Hunger Games.
Like I said, there's a lot to defend ourselves against. So,
right.
So we watched that. I also watched Wish, the new animated thing
Okay.
that's out there that I'm curious what your thoughts would be on that. We watched
Desperately negative. Just insanely negative thoughts.
I've got so many questions about it because I also was pretty desperately negative, but the way that the artistry in the background, where like some of the characters looked like they were from Doc McStuffins, but then the castle looked like it was a painting.
Yep.
Even though I thought it was terrible, I was like, I wonder if Tim's going to like this because it looks like a painting.
I believe it to have been a very noble attempt to do something, but I believe the attempt failed.
Yeah, I feel that 100%. So I did not like Wish at all. I caught Thanksgiving, which I saw that you actually had a pretty positive review about.
I dug it. I dug it. It's violent.
I thought you might like it. And then I saw Five Nights at Freddy's, which I had such high hopes for, and that was a real pooper for me, unfortunately.
Well, you're far too old. I feel like if you're over the age of 14, you've aged out of whatever bizarre target demo that movie has for itself.
Do you think it wasn't too scary for kids? I mean, it's kind of...
I think it's designed for people who know what the hell the games are, which is not me. And if it's not me, it's surely not you.
Yeah, so I guess I didn't even really realize that. So is it a video game that's still out there now?
It's an ongoing concern in the video game universe, yes.
Oh, it's an ongoing concern. I actually thought the whole thing was like a parody on Chuck E. Cheese.
It is. The video games are a parody of Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, okay, because I'm familiar with Chuck E. Cheese. So then I was like, that kind of I thought was going to hit for me. But no, it didn't. I also caught The Creator with my parents.
Which I have not seen that either.
It's like an AI world-ending thing. None of us understood it. So I had no idea what was going on. And I looked over at my parents, and my mom's just so into it. My mom can get into any type of media if she's there for it. So she's just nodding her head. She's crying. She's, grabbing her face. And my dad's like, he seems into it too. And then we went upstairs, and Rob was like kind of explaining the movie. And none of us had any clue that anything that he was talking about had happened.
Well, do you trust that Rob was correct?
I think so.
Or was he just talking out of his ass?
I think he knew. I think he was onto it, and none of us actually knew what was going on. So it wasn't the best for me. But the one I want to bring today is the movie Leave the World Behind. It's a new Netflix flick that's out that I just saw that's so good.
Yeah, I had not really heard about that. I know it has made some level of penetration into the world of normal people. I was out with my partner's family about a week ago. We went to this light event outside of Milwaukee, and his mother was like, "Oh, Tim, you'll have heard of this movie. There's this movie that's got these people in it." And I was like, "I haven't." So I Googled it, and I was like, "Oh, it's a Netflix joint. It's opening this next weekend in Netflix." So people have heard of it. I have not. So I am curious to know what is the thing.
Ooh,
so I want to hear more about this movie for sure.
So I'm going to share that one with you. And then I'm also bringing, from Patreon supporter Brian Fowler, 1953's Summer with Monika.
With whom?
Monika. Summer
Monika?
with Monika.
Do you think that might be Monica?
It's not. It's Swedish. So I
think
it's Summer.
And Monica's how it's pronounced in Swedish.
It's Monika.
Okay.
We'll call it Monica.
You're the one who just saw it. I'll trust your memories
if I'm wrong.
over mine.
That's
of having been a fan of Ingmar Bergman since before your children.
So you've seen this one.
I've reviewed this one. I watched this as part of there's a pandemic on. I better start watching some depressing Swedish art movies.
Oh.
And then I watched Summer with Monica.
So you just said
I met Monica.
Yes. So I'm going to bring that one as well. And depressing is the name of the game on that one, I would say. So those are my two. And now
I'd say there's two names, and one of them is depressing, but the other one is horny.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So you start us off. You with your Japanese flick.
So yes. So I'm going to start us off with The Boy and the Heron, the newest film by the great Hayao Miyazaki, as I said, who retired in 2013 following the release of The Wind Rises. But it was one of those sorts of retirements that was just super busy. And he has in the interim only made one other film. It's a short called Boro the Caterpillar, which was made for the Studio Ghibli Museum in Japan. But there's been documentaries about his retirement and so on and so forth. And he decided about 5 years ago, I think, he had one more feature in him, at least. He had to get the story told. So he began developing the script that in Japanese is called How Do You Live, which I think is, for the record, a just incomparably better title than The Boy and the Heron, both in terms of being a good title and also in terms of addressing the content of the story. But How Do You Live is a book, a Japanese, I don't know if it's a novel or a memoir or something, but a book that had special resonance to Miyazaki. The film is not an adaptation of the book. It merely takes the book's title. It is instead the story of a boy of 12, 13 years old who, in the early stage of World War II, and I'm a little foggy on what exactly they mean by that, because World War II in Japan has different dates than it does in the United States. It seems that this story mostly takes place in like 1941 or 1942. But his mother dies in a fire caused by bombings in the war. So he and his father leave the city to avoid, the devastation, and end up at a small estate, basically in rural Japan, where the father has just married another woman, and we find out quickly enough that I don't think it's a spoiler, although the movie seems weirdly cagey about letting us know this fact. The woman is the younger sister of his first wife, so the boy's aunt is now his stepmother.
Ooh. A little weird.
And he's just kind of not handling any of this at all well. He's very, very deep in mourning. He is sad to have left the city. He's not sure what's going on. He feels very isolated because his father's like the wealthy industrial tycoon of the region. So like he can't really be part of the rough and tumble life of the community. They're living far apart from everything else. So he's kind of an outsider. The rest of the children obviously dislike him and disrespect him. So he's just kind of wallowing in this depressed fugue. And while this is going on, a gray heron flies basically to his window and starts speaking in English. And this is very creepy and weird because the heron seems to be taunting him about the death of his mother. And he decides, as this goes on, that he's going to kill the heron because the heron is freaking him out. And that seems like a perfectly reasonable response to me. So he plots this trap for the heron, essentially, but it backfires on him. And he ends up sort of having to, his anger is like these local spirits that live in this tower on the estate. And part of this involves them kidnapping his stepmother. So he goes into the tower to find her, and it's a sort of Alice in Wonderland situation where all of a sudden he's in this strange fantasy landscape full of these humanoid birds who are all very violent and destructive, and a handful of human beings who are trying to like survive the onslaught of all the birds. And meanwhile, he's trying to find whatever has happened to his stepmother / aunt, while the fantasy world itself seems to be kind of crumbling from old age. And that gets us a nice chunk of the way into the movie. I don't want to give away what happens after that, but it's basically, if we think of your favorite movie, Carrie, Spirited Away, if Spirited Away is a movie for 10-year-old girls, Boy and the Heron is the same sort of movie, but for like 14-year-old boys.
Okay.
I would say. So it's a little more mature, but the same sort of like, help, I've fallen into this strange netherworld of spirits. None of the rules make sense. I can't get out. And it feels like if I don't do everything exactly perfectly, something is going to eat me.
And that seems, though, to be the theme. Like, what's the history on this guy with why most of his movies revolve around these problematic family dynamics?
I don't know that it might just really be these two. I don't know that he has a history of it.
There's the one where the little girls are taking the bath with their dad. The mom's
that
sick.
is a charming and wonderful movie about a very happy family that just needs to be a little bit better.
It felt like there was room for improvement on that one. And then there's the other one where they go off to the pig world. And
that's Spirited Away.
Is that still Spirited Away? Are they
that's Spirited Away. That's the pig world.
Totoro's the one with the bath, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So bath, pig world. So she goes off to the pig world.
I find it adorable that your main takeaway from the entire corpus of Japanese animation is that families bathe together in Japan. And this is weird and wrong.
I mean, it's just, honestly, I would say that this is too much information. Rob asks me to take a bath with him at least once a day.
That's ew.
Can I tell you?
No. Ew.
Can
Rob.
I tell you how many times I have? Like 0 in every. I would never take a bath with Rob ever in my entire life.
Like a literal bath, not like, hey, you want to get in the shower with me? Like, actually, let me draw a bath and we'll sit together in the tub.
He'll be like, yeah, you want to go hang out in the tub? And I have
Do you guys have like a multi-seater jacuzzi?
It's an oldie. There's probably like mold in it. It's like one of those ones that have the little jets that come out of it. But our house is 20 years old. It's a jacuzzi. Yeah, so we could both fit in there feasibly. But can you imagine?
But like, is it designed for 2? Because some of them are designed for 2.
Yeah, you could fit 2 in here. You could easily fit 2 of us in there. It's just that, what does that even look like? So your options are, you sit toe to toe, and then that way you're just
that's what I'm asking. Some of them have like seats, like they're sort of designed in like a comma shape, so you can have 2 people sitting in a seat.
No. So this would be us. There's no seats. It would basically be me. Like even when I take a bath alone, which is also once every 10 years, it's so awkward because I'm so short that I just end up, I try to like do the thing where you lay down to like relax, but then I go like bloop and I like slip under the water because I'm too short. I have nothing to prop myself with. You know
so he's trying to what lies beneath you.
He's trying to
That's why he keeps asking.
Oh, well now that makes it so much less creepy, to be totally honest.
Well, he's obviously far too lazy to do anything about it if he just keeps asking you to take a bath and hasn't come up with any would you like to try this strange colored glass of milk? Like, as long as he's only approaching the one mechanism to kill you, you're fine.
I didn't know I didn't think of that. Yeah, I've always declined. I just want to be honest about that. I've always declined because actually, that's a lie. One time I said yes. And it was like 14 years ago, and it was a disaster because I realized that I'm more buoyant than him. I was just sort of like floating. I was like trying to cover myself because I felt exposed. It was just a disaster. So only one time.
I feel like if you have like the 2-seater hot tub, not like hot tub, like you go to the hot tub outside, but like the 2-seater sort of jacuzzi situation.
Yeah.
That's different.
It's different.
But that's not what you have.
No, I would be like laying on my back like a porpoise. And it's just not flattering. It's just not good. There's no.
I don't know why you say the word porpoise was a trigger.
I don't know either. I honestly don't. It's the first animal it came
to. Just imagine you flopping around like a beached whale.
That's what it looks like. Because then it's like the one time I did do it, I didn't go foot to foot. I did like sit on the lap because because my feet were too short to reach. So then I was like, well, at least if I sit on your lap, my feet will hit the end of the tub and I can hold myself up. But then I ended up just floating there, like out of water. I wasn't even like fully submerged. I was kind of like out of the water, just waffling around in the air. And it was a huge, huge disaster. So,
oh my God.
Every time he asks, that's all that runs through my mind. I'm like, this is never happening again. So, to anybody.
So anyway, that's The Boy and the Heron.
So that's The Boy and the Heron, and it sounds so good. It sounds
so I loved this movie. It's weird. I had no expectations. Nothing that I've said out loud actually, I think, gives away literally any of the story because like I don't fully understand where the story goes. It's definitely this like, well, if we're going to do the thing seems to be, if we're going to do Alice in Wonderland, let's commit to it. Like, let's just have everything be disturbing nonsense. Yeah. And so you've got this boy just kind of like trying not to die as various weird environments crop up around him, essentially.
Okay.
And then when this all ends, it has become clear along the way, although exactly how it becomes clear would be difficult to say, A, without spoiling, and B, without like having to rewatch the movie. This is definitely Miyazaki feeling like he has failed because he has not found a successor to run Studio Ghibli after he retires.
Okay.
And he's angry. Okay. That's what he's done with his career, basically. Okay. I thought it was great. You would hate this movie so much, Carrie.
All right. So say the title one more time for folks that
The Boy and the Heron, a.k.a. How Do You Live?
How Do You Live? Okay. All righty. Well, I think some people will be catching that. If I had to go next him with one thing, would it be Summer of Monica or what was the other one? Leave the World Behind.
I mean, part of me feels the segue from you floating in the tub to Summer of Monica would be where we want to go. But that's our Patreon. We should hang on to that one. Give me the other one.
All right. I'll give you Leave the World Behind. So this is a new one. It's out on Netflix. We actually just watched it yesterday. And I don't know. I was pretty excited. I saw it was Julia Roberts. It's Ethan Hawke. It's Mahershala Ali, the guy from Green Book.
Is it now?
Did I mispronounce his name?
Mahershala.
Oh, damn it. Hang on one second. I'm going to typo that in. Mahershala. Sorry, I'm going to write that again. Okay, so Mahershala and then Mahala? Do you know who that is?
I now don't know who you're talking about.
Mahala? It's the gal that's in there. She only goes by a singular name because she's so lovely.
I believe you already said that was Julia Roberts. And she goes by 2.
By 2. There's another lovely person in this movie. She's also very lovely. And so I think it's Mahala. And then Kevin Bacon is in this one as well.
So, there's a name I haven't heard in a while.
I know. And I was, it's end of the world. It's sort of, it's a possible end of the world situation. So this family, played by Julia and Ethan Hawke and their 2 kids, they're kind of struggling in the day-to-day, and like the mom is struggling with some things at work and they're busy, and so they're like, you know what, we're just going to escape and we're just going to have like this getaway and we're going to go off to this Airbnb type style home. And they get there and it's this McMansion. It's this beautiful, beautiful home, modern, lovely, everything is appointed. Rob could not let go of the fact that there was no way that this family could afford this home. I said, just suspend your disbelief. Think about all of the other things that you suspend your disbelief on in a movie, and he could not let go that this family could not go to this home. I mean, it was very, very nice. But anyway, they go there, and then there ends up being a blackout in the city. And so something mysterious is weird. Something's going on that's weird. The internet, the television, radio, like everything, phones aren't working, and they're kind of creeped out by it. But they're like, well, maybe there's just a power outage. And so then... and you see this in the previews, and I love, love, love the idea of this. But then Mahershala and Mahala end up just showing up at the door. They're like in a suit, in beautiful clothing, and they show up at the door. And they're like, this is awkward, but this is our home. And there's been this something that's happened, and it starts to get weird and eerie and tense, like something's happened, and we're really hoping that you can extend our home to us to come back here. And so it just starts this really, really tense thriller, because now they're in the home. Julia Roberts doesn't know what to think about this father and daughter that have come back to their own home, and she's suspicious because why are they here? And it ends up becoming this really interesting commentary to me on sort of humanity and how we behave when we're in fear. And what I loved about it is where Julia Roberts traditionally, plays the sweetheart, like this empathetic character, this person that we all love. She's like kind of yucky in this a little bit. Like she's really judgy of them, and then you as a viewer are questioning if there's reasons that she's, leery of them because of their race, essentially. And that's the commentary that the daughter starts to make, like, oh, why do you think you should not let us in? And so there's this commentary and back and forth about why she's afraid of them, even though it's their home, And so you start to actually not like Julia Roberts, which is just mind blowing in any movie. And so you're kind of pulling for them, but how do I even say this? Like you start to see blips, like even though they don't have access to anything, you start to see the world, what's happening in the world in little blips, in the media, or like maybe a news flash comes through their phone and you start to see like, ooh, something's wrong. Like something bad is happening, but everybody's being cut out of it. And so essentially there's sort of this cyber attack that's happened. And that's not a spoiler to say that there's this cyber attack that's happened, but it's led to something much, much worse. And so I just thought it was really fun. And the other thing that I thought, this is why I want you to see it. There is the most interesting camera techniques or like camera angles, like visuals. Like the visuals in this are so surprising. And okay. Rob kept saying through the whole movie, I don't know how they did that. How could they have done that? That doesn't even make any sense. Like, how could you do that? And it almost felt like the director and the cinematographer were playing with you as a viewer, because it was like, haha, there's no way that you have any idea how we could have possibly done this.
Can you give me like a concrete example, or would it be something that would almost be hard to describe?
No. So, okay, one of the examples is they do a lot with like really extreme close-ups. Like a lot of them, like they get really, and Rob was like, I don't like that. You know, he felt it was a little intrusive or awkward. I liked it. It just felt different. They'd get in these really...
Well, I mean, intrusive and awkward sounds like it might even hit the scenario. So maybe they wanted it to be intrusive and awkward.
Exactly. That's what I said. So in one of the scenarios, they follow the couple and they're driving in the car. And so you see a camera. If I can describe this, you're seeing the front seat. And so you see the camera outside the window of the car. The camera moves into the car and then it zooms into... it's kind of a top-down zoom in on the people in the front seat, but without any cuts. It then moves into the back seat and pans to one child in the left seat, and then he's saying something, and then it pans over to the other child that's in the right passenger seat or the right back seat, and then it goes out the window. This is all in one shot. It goes back out the window, and when it goes out the window's up. And then you're getting a shot again from outside the window again. So it basically does this like without any cuts, in through the car, out the window with like the closed window. I don't know how they would have done it without cuts. I don't know.
I mean, I would need to see it. I mean, there's at least a couple things that leap to mind in terms of, was it green screened? Was it sort of stitched together? But yeah, no, you got me curious.
I don't think it didn't feel green screened. It did not feel stitched together in any way. And I'll also say he did this over and over. So this is Sam Esmail. He did Mr. Robot. He's done a couple other things, is the director. But there were just a bunch of shots that Rob just kept saying over and over, like, that's... just them showing off, but it was really cool visuals, upside downs and side by sides and angles where you'd get her coming up the stairs that were top down, visuals of her coming up instead of front shots. I thought it was fun, twisty, interesting, and I think it has a deeper sort of meta commentary tied to it that's interesting that they weave in around the sitcom Friends. You can take that nugget when you go see it, but I really, really enjoyed it. So I want you to go check it out and tell me what you think. So
just because I hear a Netflix thriller released in December about the end of the world of post-apocalypse. So my brain immediately goes to Bird Box. Yep. I'm just curious. You saw that, right?
I did. And I liked it more than you.
Yeah. So that's going to be my question. Like, is this a better than Bird Box situation?
Yes.
Do you say?
It's better than Bird Box. And that is the movie that Rob compared it to. But he did say it's a Bird Box meets... oh my gosh, one of my favorite movies, Parasite. It's Parasite meets Bird Box. So if you can combine those two up with inventive new elements.
Maybe like a little bit of When Harry Met Sally in there. It sounds
just a touch. There's an apple pie scene in there that you just can't miss. So I want to know what you think so bad because I'm really digging it and I kind of want to watch it again. But you tell me.
I would not want to lie to you. My list of films I need to catch up with is long, but I will add this to that list.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's jump back to your Japanese films.
To my other Japanese film, and this is if Miyazaki is sort of one of the great Japanese filmmakers, this is more about Japan's ongoing decades-long contribution to world cinema culture because it's the newest Godzilla. And I mean, let me ask you this question, Carrie. What do you think about Godzilla? How do you feel about the big G?
He's not my favorite, and I know you love him. I'm a King Kong person. I know.
Well, King Kong's not in this movie because it's Japanese.
No. But when they come together and they fight, I want King Kong to win. So for me,
what would you
Godzilla's
want if there wasn't King Kong, but if there was only Godzilla?
You know what? I guess I would want him to also win. I would want him to win.
Well, he's the villain of this film, so you don't want that.
Is he ever
So basically, Godzilla -1.
Is he ever
the -1? What was that?
Is he ever not the villain?
He's sometimes not the villain.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There have been so many Godzilla movies. They've tried every permutation.
Yes.
There's lots of good guy Godzillas, lots of bad guy Godzillas, lots of he's the bad guy, but there's another monster who's even worse.
Yes.
Like lots of options here.
Yes.
So in this particular film, Godzilla -1, the -1 is in reference to it taking place prior to the original Godzilla, something no film in the series has ever done. Of course, the original film takes place in 1954, detailing the first encounter, or so we thought, with this giant ass lizard creature roused by nuclear testing in the Pacific. Godzilla -1 takes place in the wake of World War II. It actually starts towards the end of the war, where a kamikaze pilot has basically chickened out, and rather than complete his mission, which would involve sacrificing his life and crashing into an American or other allied force battleship of some sort, has pretended that his plane doesn't work. So he's landed on this little island in the Pacific that's designed specifically to service kamikaze planes, basically. And while he's getting his plane serviced, a very large, like 30, 40 foot tyrannosaur-like creature comes out of the sea and kills everybody else. Mm-hmm. And he freaks out. And he learns in the process of being the only survivor of this massacre that the local islanders call it Godzilla. It's this sort of sea god. And that's that. Flash forward a few years, we arrive in 1947. Japan has lost the war. We're sort of wandering around the parts of Japan where people are starting the process of trying to rebuild something resembling a culture. So we have our war coward, and we have a woman who had a newborn baby pressed into her arms, basically by the baby's mother, as the mother was dying during the very last days of the war, when everyone was just getting bombed to hell and whatnot.
Is this real? Is this real or cartoon?
This is real.
This is real.
It's a movie. It's not real.
There's no Godzilla. The baby's alive. The baby and the mom are really alive.
The baby and the mom are alive.
Okay.
This is they're human beings who are actors who are in front of the camera.
Okay.
So the mother's dead, but this young woman has sort of taken the baby. So the soldier, the flyer, and the young woman and the baby kind of end up living together in a sort of fake family. Like, there's not really necessarily a romantic attachment, and there's not necessarily a parental attachment, but they're sort of trying their best to give each other the strength to keep moving forward. And what do you suppose happens as they are living in this kind of squalid environment in post-war Japan? Country is still just in shambles from the end of the war. The economy's gone. To a certain extent, the Americans are trying to rebuild it, but that's only going so far. So everything's awful. What do you suppose happens, Carrie?
I would guess, if I had to say how I would want it to go, that this baby is going to rise up and become super powerful and go out and save everybody, I would say.
This baby's a baby. Carrie.
Oh, there's no time has passed. Okay.
This is 1947.
Well, I thought maybe there was a span of time where the baby was able to go.
The span of time is 1946 to 1947.
Oh, okay. Okay, so not a 1-year-old saving the world. Gosh darn it. I would say, you said Godzilla's a bad guy, so Godzilla's not coming to save anyone.
No, well, Godzilla comes back.
Yeah.
Is what happens.
Oh, yes. Okay. Godzilla
so they're all just trying to get by. And what happens, this giant lizard, and remember when we saw it in World War II in like 1944, it was like 30, 40 feet tall. Now it's like hundreds of feet tall.
Oh, okay.
So it got big.
Yeah.
And maybe it got big because of nukes, who's to say?
Babies.
Thing is, it got super big. And it's going to tear shit apart. And it does so.
What about the baby?
And then the baby's just hanging out.
Okay.
Baby's fine. Baby does not get killed by Godzilla.
Okay, thank you.
So the pilot has to because he's the only person who's seen Godzilla, he sort of gets roped in to being part of an anti-Godzilla task force. He has since gotten a very dangerous job as a minesweeper. So he and a few other veterans of the war go out into the various bays and whatnot that either the Japanese or the Americans or whoever, various people throughout the course of the war, just dropped mines in the water and hoped to blow things up. So now they're actually trying to weaponize these mines. They're trying to use these mines that they're collecting to blow up Godzilla. Of course, Godzilla's much tougher than that. A couple mines aren't going to stop Godzilla. Good Lord, that's not how that works. So they have to come up with something fancier. And
Don't
do
tell.
they? I don't know.
Tell.
It's a 2-hour
Who knows?
movie.
Who knows?
But it's this really, I think, phenomenal. This is in my top 5 Godzilla movies.
What?
Flat out.
Really?
I think I kind of formally ranked it. I have a list on Letterboxd. I think I put it at number 3. That was me being a little bit enthusiastic. I could probably see dropping it to number 4. I don't think I could see dropping it lower than number 4. Fucking good movie.
Wow.
It has the 2 things I need a Godzilla movie to have. It's got Godzilla.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of Godzilla.
Number 1.
He's an old CGI Godzilla, which is something that has never been true of a Japanese film, I don't think. I think even in Shin Godzilla from 2017, he's still a combination of CGI and a man in a suit. Here he is a CGI effect designed to look like a man in a suit, and I thought it was very fetching. I really liked it a lot.
What's your favorite?
The 1954, the original.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Shin Godzilla, was that where he was up against himself? There was like 2 Godzillas or something?
There are multiple films that you just described.
Oh,
but
okay.
none of them are Shin Godzilla.
I saw one of them that was just terrible, and it was all really blue. Like the entire movie was just a blue hue of Godzilla, and you could barely make him out.
Was that Godzilla King of the Monsters?
Maybe. Yeah, that's why.
That was an
not
American
good.
Godzilla film. Those are fake. Those aren't real. They're bad.
I didn't like that at all.
No, we're talking Japanese Godzilla. We're not talking this awful, corrupt Yank Godzilla. We're talking about the proper Godzilla.
The real thing.
So you have really, 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 really good CGI. The movie cost $15 million.
That's cheap though, right?
It's so cheap.
Yeah.
Like you have movies like Wish that cost 200 million, and you have movies like The Marvels that cost like 240 million. And then you have Godzilla minus one, which costs $15 million and looks so much better than any American effects driven film has looked this year.
What is it though that keeps their films so much less expensive?
I cannot begin to tell you. It is a mystery to me, but it looks great. Cool Godzilla. Love the design of the CGI effect. Love the execution. But on top of that, there are Godzilla films where the human story is very bad.
Yeah.
And there are Godzilla films where the human story is harmless. And I don't mind. I'm here for Godzilla, but I'll watch these people.
Yeah.
We have here for the first time in 60 years a good human story in a Godzilla movie. I would have watched this movie if Godzilla wasn't in it, if it was just about this kind of group of war-racked people trying to form a kind of familial bond while coping with the knowledge that part of the reason Japan lost the war was because the Japanese government was basically corrupt and basically felt, well, as long as we just throw our young men at this problem and murder them, we'll solve it. So the film is kind of a reckoning with how dare the culture of Japan value human life so little.
Yeah.
And the way we're going to move forward and patch up the wounds of World War II is if we change that and if we decide that actually we are going to value life and we're going to value our shared humanity. And then this being told through the story of this like cowardly pilot who feels guilty for not killing himself. And the movie's question is sort of, well, why should he feel guilty? He wasn't going to end the war by killing himself. So why? Anyway, so really good human story that leads to some really good Godzilla scenes. This is kind of what if Godzilla was also Jaws?
Yeah.
Because there's a boat and Godzilla is chasing them in the boat. And it's good.
And it's so good. I'm like a little bit tempted by this. You've got me like, should I try it?
If you're going to see one of the 2 movies I'm bringing to the table, I have no hesitation in saying Godzilla -1 is the one you should see.
The one to go for. Okay. And what's your number 2?
You would absolutely like this better. What?
What's your number 2?
My number 2 Godzilla movie?
Yeah. Yeah, Godzilla movie.
That would be Mothra versus Godzilla from 1963, 1962.
I feel like I saw Mothra 1 too. I think I saw that.
Mothra is in Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
And for the record, if this one drops down to number 4, my number 3 would then become 1995's Godzilla versus Destoroyah.
Okay. What is that, like a pterodactyl? What is he fighting in there?
A large object that is possibly birthed of his own DNA. Like I said, you said it's Godzilla versus Godzilla. It's like there's a lot of Godzilla versus Godzilla movies. So that does not help me pin it down.
I think I also saw one where he was fighting like a bug. Was he fighting a moth and something? Like a giant...
Mothra is a moth.
Oh, right. Now that you're saying that feels...
So was it one where there was a pterodactyl, a moth, a 3-headed dragon, and Godzilla?
I think so.
All 4 of those monsters were involved?
I think so.
That is Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah,
it's
I've
not
seen
good.
that.
It's a terrible, terrible movie.
So
it's
bad.
Godzilla
And now
movies.
I'm mad that I watched that first because I actually do like monster movies. So I'm kind of mad that I saw it because it really turned me off. And I thought maybe this just wasn't for me.
I kind of want you to see
I
Godzilla
kind of
minus
want
one
to
a little
too.
bit.
I kind of want
I
to
think you'd
too.
like it. I think you'd. I do.
Where can I catch it? It's in theaters?
What?
Is it in theaters?
It's
right
currently
now?
in theaters. It was actually it is the first film that Toho has ever distributed in the United States directly, Toho being the production company and distributor that's been making Godzilla movies all along, but they would always sell the rights to an American distributor. Now they're just releasing, they created Toho International just to release these films outside of Japan themselves. And they were going to release it for 1 week. And it did so ungodly well at the box office in its opening weekend that they extended it for at least a second week. So we're in that second week now. But it like didn't drop week to week. It basically made as much money in its second weekend as it did in its first. So if I were a betting man, I think this movie's going to be playing till Christmas. And I hope it is because I'm planning on taking my father to it when I go home for Christmas because I think he'd enjoy it.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. I'm enticed. It's the first one that I've actually written down. When I'm like, yeah, I'm going to write that one down. Usually it's just like a courtesy thing. But this one I actually have written down.
No, so. I typically don't bring movies to the table that I think you would enjoy, but I think you might actually enjoy Godzilla.
Same, and same with you with Leave the World Behind. So we both set each other up with one. I'm going to jump in now to another one, which I know you've said that you've loved. So we do have something to fight about. We've got some stuff to fight about today, which we wouldn't want to leave without that during the holidays, a little argument. But thanks to Patreon supporter Brian Fowler, who is my resident Ingmar Bergman fan.
Oh yeah, he's a Bergman guy.
Bergman man.
He's a huge Bergman guy.
Bergman man. So I've got questions about that. I'm going to call Brian and ask him some questions about just why, because I have a psychological analysis of anybody who loves these movies. Or maybe I can ask you, Tim, since you love them.
Very excited to hear it.
I don't know. I'm still processing. So I did just watch this. I'm coming off fresh of it. I still have a pit stain on my right side from watching it because I found Summer with Monika incredibly stressful to watch.
Okay, good. It is.
But first, before I get into the stressful parts, let me tell you a little bit about what it's about. So this movie is about this girl who just kind of sucks. Her name is Monika.
She does.
So do we agree?
You know what I mean.
Oh, gosh. I do now, but at first I didn't. Yeah, she does that too. She just all kinds of suckage. So she just kind of sucks. And I kind of feel like I want to have empathy for her, but I think she's kind of a dum-dum. And I just am really bothered by her. So that's how the movie starts off. We meet Monika, and she's sort of this reckless, rebellious 17-year-old. So she's
a teenage girl. Like, why are you expecting a teenage girl to be like a decent person? That's just silly of you.
I should have known her age, though. Not that that's like absolves her of everything, but I didn't realize how young these two were when I first started watching it. So when it was evolving and I was my heart was pounding out of my chest and I was sweating, I thought they were probably in their 20s. So it does help to have the context to know that it starts off and she's like a 17-year-old girl. I think he's 18. But she has this rough family life. Her dad is kind of an alcoholic and her mom is fine. Her mom seems fine. We don't really know her mom or her family all that well. But she clearly wants to get away from this family. Her dad is one of those people who's really jovial and fun and then can turn kind of mean after he's had a few drinks or if you kind of cross him. So she's very anxious to get away from her family. And then his name is his name Harry? Hang on. Oh yeah, his name is Harry. That's right. So Harry is this guy. He's like 19 years old. He's kind of cute. And he comes from a well-to-do family. But his mom passed away when he was just a little kid. And so he was like between 5 and 8 when his mom passed away. So he's never really had a female presence in his life. And his dad kind of lost it after the mom passed away. So he hasn't really had a strong family dynamic growing up. So basically the two people are primed to come together and they decide that they're going to run off together because neither sets of families really just want them to be there or be together. And so they steal a boat and they run off for the summer to this isolated island. And while they're there, Monika gets a little frisky with Harry,
Mhm.
and they generate a child. So
They do indeed generate a child.
so they do that. There's drama along the way, but that's where it starts to unravel for me. So it was kind of cute. I was on board in the beginning. It was kind of cute, and I was like, oh, good. These two people are getting away from situations that they don't like. She's kind of what's the word? Objectified from people around her at work. You know, they pinch her butt randomly and touch her, and she's like, don't do that. Like shakes her finger, like. That's terrible, but doesn't really
I
stop
find this
it.
to be a very exciting summary of Harriet Anderson's performance as Monica.
These are my main takeaways. Like, why would you not get more mad when somebody reaches up and pinches your butt under your
Because it was
skirt?
1953 in Europe.
I don't know. I would have not been happy about that. No one ever has tried to pinch my butt under my skirt. But so anyway, they go off and do this, and then all hell breaks loose. It's like they go off, and the minute they get out there, Monica just starts to unravel, and it's like, I mean, already I wasn't a big fan because she's super clingy, and I can't handle clingy, needy people. And she's super like, when they go to like give each other kisses, she's like rubbing her face, like on her face, and she's got these lips that she's like all over his face. So gross. And this is even before they leave, and she gets annoying.
I am scandalized by what you're currently saying.
Oh, what? So you're into that? Are you? So you're saying?
I think this movie is very erotic.
So okay, maybe I'm just not into rubbing. There's just so much rubbing. Like she's just like rubbing.
Well,
her skin.
Again, it was 1953 in Europe. You could just show like penetration.
You didn't, but then they show nudity. I saw.
They do show nudity. This was a big deal nudity movie, actually. One of the like groundbreaking nudity films.
I was going to ask you about that because I was shocked when I saw her butt crack. Like I thought it was going to cut away, and I'm like, no, there's still the crack. The crack is right there. And honestly, that's what she has going for her. She really does have a nice butt crack, and honestly. It's a good.
I would also say she has for her being played by one of the 10 best actresses in the history of the medium, but that might just be me.
Oh, really? Oh, wait. Her name is
Harriet Anderson.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So she was also in another movie. She was in Fanny and Alexander.
Is she in Fanny and Alexander?
She is.
She must be. Yes.
Yes.
Because I was thinking, you've seen Cries and Whispers, yes?
No, I have not.
Oh, because she's in Cries and Whispers as well.
Yeah. So Ingmar discovered her when she was 20 years old, and he wrote Summer of Monica just for her.
He did, because they were fucking.
They were?
He wanted to make a movie so he could fuck her while he was filming her in a movie.
You're joking me.
I am assuredly not.
I am so much sweating even more now. Even thinking about it. Wasn't he super old?
He was older. He wasn't like 80. He was 53.
53.
He lived for another 60 years.
She was 20. Oh my gosh.
I think he probably had like 10 or 12 years on her at this point.
Okay. Well, maybe that's not so bad. I thought he was much older. But anyway, I got to recoup myself a little bit here. So they go.
By and large, if you're watching an Ingmar Bergman film and there is an actress in the lead role, your default assumption should be that Ingmar Bergman was having sex with her.
I didn't think about that either. So
that is broadly speaking true.
Who was the gal from Scenes from a Marriage?
Liv Ullmann.
He was doing her too?
Yes. He had long since left Harriet and had I think 3 or 4 other mistresses before, as well as multiple wives. Ingmar Bergman was a philanderer.
Oh, gosh.
He had lots of sex with lots of women.
That is so interesting that you say that, because I think he has a little bit of a type, because I think that these two characters, so Harriet and the person that you just said, say her name one more time.
Liv,
they kind of look alike a little bit.
They look more alike than I think some of his others do. Yes, though. Yes. I mean, like Bibi Anderson is a blonde and they are both not blondes. So he doesn't have a type, but he definitely has affinities.
I can see the affinity. But anyway, so once they hit the beach and she starts to take a turn and she starts to get super snotty and just like whiny and like starts complaining about everything, I just started to feel super overwhelmed and stressed by the entire movie. And they were just arguing, and they're arguing in Swedish. And well,
it'd be very weird if they weren't.
That's true. But to me, Swedish sounds so much like Polish. And here's the thing. I didn't grow up in a family that argued. Yeah, I know you would. I knew we would get there. I did not grow up in a family that argued or yelled ever. Which is probably its own problem. but it was just chill all the time. So when I met Rob's family, and it was like the tolerance for arguing was like somebody didn't pass the bread fast enough or whatever, like whatever nonsensical arguing, it always goes into Polish when they argue. And so I've adjusted.
Well, it's
to
easier
that.
to swear in your native language.
Absolutely. So I can hear if like kurmach is like the worst thing that you can say. And it comes out all the time if you don't pass the bread fast enough. And I have developed this like physiological response when people in foreign languages start arguing and fighting. And it just is like really, really triggering. And so now when like the first probably 5 to 7 years, it would just make me really like anxious and emotional or like overwhelmed. Like, oh, I just want to get away from it. Now it actually just turns to anger for me. I'm like, stop arguing. So the whole time where she was like complaining and whining and like, I don't know. I just was like, lady, you gotta stop. I just can't handle it. But I don't know. So I just found the whole thing stressful and the clinginess stressful. But I would say that if I had seen this prior to the last 15 years of my life, I think I would have really liked it.
Okay. I get that. Because to me, like I do think the movie ultimately is anti-Monika in the way that you're describing.
Yeah.
I have a sort of split response to it. I think Monika is a better character, and I think Harriet Anderson is a way, way better performer than oh God, is it Lars Ekborg? Is that his name? Yes, Lars Ekborg. Yeah. I think he's just a pill. I think he has no screen presence, which I think is not an accident. I think we're meant to sort of be as overwhelmed by Monika as he is. But I think there's a degree of like, yeah, they're self-destructive and maybe not pleasant to be around, but they're also dumb kids.
They're dumb kids. And I had to, I didn't know that at the time. I think if I had known that they weren't logical adults, that would have bothered me less, maybe, that they were just making all these ridiculous choices.
Yeah.
Over
and to me, that's kind of what the movie is. It's like when you start thinking with your genitals, things unravel. And it's kind of a movie about like both the freeing, because again, as you said, these are two people who have crappy lives. They go to be free in this paradise, but at the same time, that freedom is more than they're emotionally equipped to deal with. Yes. And so they make a complete hash of their lives.
Ah, I know.
Good stuff. Love it. Makes me feel horny and sad simultaneously. My favorite feeling.
Sorry.
Because I mean, I'm enough of a male to say that Harriet Anderson is a fucking gorgeous human being.
She is kind of a babe. Although I was laughing because they kept calling her like chunky over and over again. And then when I saw her naked, I was like, well, if she's chunky, I'm a porpoise flapping in a bathtub.
Those are some chunks that I would I'd like in my soup.
Same. If she wasn't talking the entire movie and I just could really take her in, I think it would have been so much better. But yeah, he's kind of a wet.
And I mean, again, this is a movie that was written by the guy who was having sex with her to be like, babe, you're so hot. I want to make you in a movie where you're going to be really hot. And that's like the movie.
I wonder what if this was like foreplay for him to be like, I'm going to belittle you and make you think that you're like no good and that you're annoying and all these things, but then I'm still going to want you. It's almost like I make you this bad character.
That is within the realm of possibility.
I'm going to ask, is she still alive?
Ask whom?
I'm going to ask.
Is Harriet Anderson? She might be.
I'm going to call her. See what she says. I'm going to be
I think one of the vintage Bergman actresses is still alive. I don't think it's her.
Oh. Well, she has an updated picture on IMDb. She's not one of those that maintained her picture.
Nope, she is alive. She is 91 years young.
Would it be weird if I called her?
It would be highly unlikely you would succeed in doing so.
Oh,
is my belief.
Love to visit with her
because she's a famous person who lives in Sweden.
Oh, she's still in Sweden. She hasn't moved yet. Okay.
I don't suppose that she ever will.
No. Now that you're saying that feels right. So, Brian, thank you. Thank you. I will say, I don't mind being stressed. Like, it's fine. It was very stressful, but it was stressful in a way that I do like to have a reaction to movies. It was definitely something that I was 100% engaged in for the entire movie, hanging on what they were saying. I was totally into it, even if I was, again, perspiring quite a bit throughout the movie. So you guys can check it out.
And my note to you, Brian, is I would like for your next Patreon request that you make for Carrie to be Persona.
Persona. I'm going to make sure to
Persona.
edit that part out right after I check into what that movie's about. But nevertheless, that takes us to the end of our show. Anything else you want to catch up on before we close out?
I mean, I think that it's just nice to see your face and hear your voice and talk movies, and sounds like you saw two great ones that you loved, and that's always uplifting to me.
Likewise. This is the best thing I've had going in quite a long time. So thanks for joining me, and thank you guys for joining us. For Patreons that are out there, we are going to get a holiday movie night coming up in December, so be on the lookout for that. And we do want to thank all of you who do support us via Patreon and our new patrons that we have since last we chatted. We do have DCHB, who upgraded from the It's Nice to Be Nominated to the very elusive Critics' Choice Award. And we also have Daniel Sinclair, who sent support via PayPal and said, I've been enjoying reviews and features at AE for years, and it's time to pony up. Cheers. So thank you guys both. And celebrating their anniversaries with us this month, it's Jack Rosen, Matt DeBari, XY, Andy Albert, and Kellis and Dale. So thank you guys all again for joining us, and be on the lookout for our next episode. We'll catch you then.